Hey everybody, I just wanted to share my thoughts on Creality Cloud's new free model incentive system for designers and give some personal perspective as someone who designs and sells 3D models online. For those of you who may not be familiar with Creality Cloud, it's an online marketplace where anyone can upload and download 3D models to be used for 3D printing. Like most 3D model platforms, their model catalog is comprised almost entirely of user-submitted models, some of them free, some of them not. While Creality Cloud has always had a good selection of free models, they're aggressively trying to expand that catalog right now, and one of the ways they're doing that is through this new incentive program. And that's what I'm going to talk to you about. If there's specific information you're interested in, there are chapter links in the description below so you can get right to what you need. That being said, some of the things I'm going to talk about are first, I'll talk about how designers can actually benefit from the program. I'll get a little more specific on how you actually earn points through the program. I'll talk about how it compares to MakerWorld's benefits. That's kind of their leading competing program. I'll talk a little bit about scenarios and what I actually earn. I'll give you some tips for maximizing your benefits if you're going to be uploading. I'll tell you a little bit about what I think Creality's motivation behind the program is, and I'll give you some overall impressions. So, how can designers actually benefit from the program? Well, Creality put out a nice article outlining their new incentives. I'll leave a link in the description. It's worth a read. But the short of it is, as a designer on Creality Cloud, by uploading public models and setting the price to free, you'll be rewarded with points based on how much users interact with your models. Every 100 points is supposed to translate roughly to a US dollar, and these points can be used in Creality's point shop to purchase things like 3D printers, accessories, and filament. And at the time of making this video, their selection is a little bit limited, but it's already begun to grow since the start of the program this month, and I expect we'll continue to see cool new additions. Now, the first most obvious question here is, why would I want Creality's points when I can sell my models for real cash? Well, there are several reasons why this might be alluring. The first of which is that people just download way more free models than paid models. That's not to say that people don't pay for 3D models sometimes. In fact, I count on them doing so. But think about your own habits. How often do you pay for a 3D model versus downloading a free one? I'll give you an example. So in this example that I'm going to show up here from my own model page, more than 1,200 people have downloaded the free model, while only 6 have downloaded the paid model. And the paid model, honestly, has been listed for longer. We'll talk some exact numbers here a bit later as far as what I bring in there, but that brings me to my next point, which is to say designers can maximize their return on investment more easily. As I mentioned before, like most other 3D model marketplaces, Creality allows for listing both paid and free models. Traditionally, designers would list a combination of both free and paid models in their storefronts. This is, again, because I mentioned that users are far more likely to download the free models, so those models were a way to generate traffic in hopes of selling more paid models. Trouble with this approach from a designer's perspective is that you're always trying to balance what models you want to give away and which ones you want to sell. It can be kind of a maddening experience. Under this paradigm, the only actual return that you get on your investment comes from those paid models. Creality's free model program kind of eliminates that problem. Designers know that every model they post will contribute at least somewhat to their return on investment. Also, they're reaching a broader audience because there's no longer a paywall between their models and their users. That lack of paywall means that really anyone, even beginners, can start to benefit from the program. Selling models online can be a difficult thing to do, even for experienced designers. For beginners, that task can seem overwhelming. By listing models to Creality, even those budding designers can start to see a return on their models from day one. Without a paywall between designers and users, downloads flow freely. And so can the feedback. By giving as many people access to your designs, you'll garner a wealth of feedback and suggestions. This gives you the opportunity to improve your skills at a much higher rate than if you wait for a small trickle of sales you might receive otherwise. And let's face it, you'd be spending a lot of that money you're making from the 3D prints on 3D printing supplies anyway. If you're anything like me, most of the money I make from my models goes right back into 3D printing. This way you can still get the things you need and want at a higher rate of return. So how does it actually work? Let's talk about the nitty-gritty of how you actually get points. The primary way that you're going to earn points is through user downloads and prints. Creality lays out a table of how points are awarded for free models. I find their version of the table to be a little bit hard to conceptualize how many points you're actually going to earn. The key things to note here, though, are that the rewards you receive are not always constant, and the points are distributed at milestones rather than for each individual download. That being said, here is an actual table that I put together of points per download at each tier level and a chart of how many points you would have earned at a few different download quantities. Again, remember 100 points is equal to approximately $1. So, looking at the example we saw earlier, if the free toolbox model pictured had received all of its downloads after Creality started the free model reward program, that model would have earned about 7,600 points, or the equivalent of $76. In contrast to that, I've made $12 from the paved model pictured above the dog spool roller thing. So yeah, obviously a little better return there. It's getting a lot more traffic, the free model is. Similar to the way you earn points for model downloads, you can also earn points for model profile settings. You'll see the terms model profile and model settings used interchangeably in Creality's docs, but they mean the same thing. I'll try my best to refer to them consistently as profiles. So what's the difference between model downloads and model profile downloads? The model profiles are the settings that you submit for models that exist on Creality Cloud, as seen here. Simply by adding print profiles to already existing models, you can earn some points as well when people download those particular profiles. This is a particularly alluring opportunity if you're a designer who has a bunch of old profiles with no print profiles uploaded and associated with them. So you can see here the table that Creality uses to distribute points for the profiles. A note, though, of courtesy, don't just make a profile in your slicer and upload it chasing points. Make sure you've actually tested that profile. People who download these profiles are counting on the fact that they are tested. That's the whole point behind them, that you've tested the parameters and they work for printing. You might really be doing someone a disservice by just uploading untested profiles in hopes of chasing points. So just something to be aware of. So the final way you're going to earn points is a little bit less quantifiable, but it can be just as lucrative if your models are spot on. The boost token system allows for users to support the models that they find to be truly impressive. Boost tokens are in short supply by design. They only hand them out to active users, and they hand them out sparingly. So this is good motivation as a designer to really make sure your model is as impressive as you can make it, because those boost tokens aren't just going to get handed out to any old model. They're going to get given to the models that people really appreciate. When a boost ticket is used, though, it benefits both the designer and the user. The designer receives a reward of 100 points, so $1. You're basically giving someone $1 if you boost their model. And the user who gave the boost gets a chance to win a prize with a lucky draw spin, and you can get any number of prizes that Creality gives away doing that. Now, how does Creality's incentive program compare to competitors? Well, most competitors have no incentive program at all. Think Thingiverse, Cults3D, CG Trader. The only way to make any kind of money on this platform is to put a price tag on your models. One competitor, MakerWorld, does offer a similar program for free models, but really leans heavily on the idea of exclusivity, which can feel a little unwelcoming to new designers, or honestly, even experienced designers like myself who are new to the platform. On top of that, they do force all of your models on the platform to be free, taking away that choice from designers to earn cash where they see fit. Not only is Creality offering the incentives for free models, but they're also still maintaining that paid platform infrastructure that allows it truly to be a marketplace. I personally have some models that I like to sell for actual dollars rather than points, and Creality Cloud, at least thus far, has preserved my ability to do that. That's about all I'll say on the topic. There's a great article written here by Spencer Hill. I'll put the link in the description again. That gives a really in-depth comparison between Creality and MakerWorld incentive programs. So check that out if you're curious about the real differences between the two. All right, so the big question, how much can you actually earn? Creality throws a lot of numbers at us in their introductory article that I mentioned earlier. Most notably, they mention a significant amount of passive income, like $10,000 a year. It sounds great, but obviously these are best case scenario numbers. However, I can personally say from experience that the program does have a lot to offer even for part-time designers like myself. Let's take a closer look at some real-life scenarios. So, how do my sales compare to the free model program? Well, in the recent months before the model reward program began, I would generally cash out once a month for about $40 to $60. Like I said, I'm a part-time designer. For reference, prior to the free model program starting, I had around 75 model uploads, roughly half of them paid models. Anyway, for the sake of comparison, in just the last 7 days from this sample I took at the time of writing the script, I've made the equivalent of about $44 in rewards points, and that's over a week, right? So the equivalent of a month's sales in just a week in points. I've still had some sales to boot that can go toward a cash out in the future. Like I said, this is a real screenshot of my Model Insights page. So what can you do to kind of maximize the returns on your models? Well, uh, first thing is just always be posting your new models. Creality uses a system of diminishing returns for awarding points to the models. So this means that over time, the amount of points that you end up getting per download decreases. We talked about that earlier. The highest rewards are realized kind of in that first 1,000 downloads of a model. That being said, the amount of points awarded never drops to zero. So that means that each model you add will continue to earn points, theoretically, forever. If you just make a habit of adding a model to Creality Cloud each time you create one, you'll have a stacked catalog of earning models before you know it. However, be cautious about just uploading a huge quantity of models. You really want to go for quality. The kinds of models that are going to do best in this program, unsurprisingly, are really high quality models. Take your time in development. Add detail to your model. Think about how you can shape the geometries of your model to eliminate the need for supports or to create better build plate adhesion. Select the colors that you print in carefully and take really good pictures in a well-lit space. Develop instructions for your users to follow. All of these things are going to make your model stand out and generate more downloads and therefore more revenue for you. Now, what's Creality getting out of all of this? What's their motivation? Why are they essentially giving away money? So let me be clear that I don't speak for Creality, but I think I can offer some ideas about why they've put the program in place. Creality is one of the few online 3D model marketplaces that actually has a fully fledged 3D printing technology company behind it. Because of this kind of unique position, Creality benefits in a symbiotic way from people downloading models and printing them. By creating an inviting platform with an abundance of free and accessible models, Creality can bring in new customers as well as strengthen the relationship they already have with their loyal users. They'll sell more printers, they'll sell more filament, and they'll drive the value of their brand up. So overall, is the free model program a good thing for us? Absolutely. Everyone actually wins in this scenario. Designers get to maximize their return on their investment and share their work with a larger audience than we may have been able to before. The users get to experience a rich and extensive platform full of high-quality models at no cost, and Creality gets to grow its business and community so they can keep delivering awesome tech, hopefully, in the 3D printing industry. So, whether you're trying to actually make it big and make a living out of selling these 3D models, or you're just someone like me who wants to share the occasional model and make a little bit on the side, you do have a lot to gain from the simple act of sharing your models. Anyway, that's my 2 cents on the issue. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out my Creality Cloud profile. That'll be the last link down in the description there.